associate. And you're like, oh shoot, there's ranks. And then you get up and it's like, hello, apprentice. And you're like, whoa, like how far am I going to go up this thing? Same thing with Arena, where you're earning your ranks and you feel like kind of proud that you're no longer, a peon to these people.
Right. Do you feel proud in Oblivion? Versus Skyrim, where you're just like, all right, yeah, give me, what's the next thing I got to do? All right, of course I'm the best,
Right. Oblivion is a massive open world RPG from 2006, and it's a great example of Bethesda maximizing its storytelling and gameplay potential through the integration of its factions and its guilds. If you've played a game from Bethesda's series, the Elder Scrolls or Fallout series, then you're probably familiar with guilds and factions. Oblivion is about to turn 20 years old, and in my opinion, it's still one of the best RPGs to date, specifically because of its implementation of its faction questlines. When I first started playing Oblivion, I tried to approach it like Fallout 3 or Skyrim. I just roamed around the overworld, looting, searching for dungeons, and exploring whatever point of interest caught my eye. But after starting over a couple different times, I finally discovered the not-so-hidden strength of Oblivion, the guilds. Welcome to Tactically Sound, an RPG podcast. Matt and I are going to share with you our very fresh experiences with this classic Elder Scrolls title, and we're going to try and uncover why this game succeeds in building compelling questlines through its guilds and factions. So, Matt, give me your key takeaway with the guild so far. I believe you're playing Dark Brotherhood and you're playing Thieves Guild. Is that right?
Let me just say, the Dark Brotherhood was the plan originally, Spencer.
Okay.
But
yes.
I'm going to have to give an update on that one. For sure, the Fighters Guild.
Yeah, I'm playing Arena, I'm playing Mages Guild, and I've started the Thieves Guild. How has Oblivion's guild system impacted the way you play versus Skyrim?
It's a bit different, and I think it's because of, one, the leveling system, the gameplay, and the charm of it actually as well. I think there's things about Oblivion that is so much better than Skyrim in regards to the factions.
Give me one of those things that are better.
One of the things that I think is a little bit better, and maybe some will argue a lot better, is the quantity. The quantity of the quests that you get from the faction and that storyline where you're uncovering the conspiracy. I really like that the Fighters Guild, you really feel like you're earning your ranks up in that guild, versus in the Companions, everything feels so rushed and quick. And while the world building is satisfying in Skyrim, the pacing is what throws me off in that world. Let's compare the Fighters Guild in Oblivion really quick to the Companions. The Fighters Guild in Oblivion really almost beckons like a call to like anime arcs in a way. I'm thinking of any of those animes where you're thrown into like those dungeon settings where you're just ranking up, and it's really fun and cool. But in the Companions, it's so short, and you reach the max. You reach I'm the leader of the Companions now, and I'm like only a couple levels into this game, and I'm thinking, well, I guess I have to go join another faction now because there was barely anything in this one. And so I think in Skyrim, they really want you to be the chosen one, the Dragonborn, be capable of doing everything in the game. And it's really easy to do that for your character and to roleplay that way. But it's kind of cool in Oblivion how they kind of allow you to really truly roleplay as a given class or character. And there's like actually enough content to just go into the game and be like, I just want to make a fighter and do the Fighters Guild and have a good time role-playing as a warrior. Or I imagine you could do that. Like, I'm going to build my character in the beginning, the skills, set myself up for success so that I can join the Dark Brotherhood and not struggle to kill someone like I'm doing for some reason as a fighter. What? Maybe you can help me with this today when I talk about the Dark Brotherhood. But yeah, that's like my real main comparison between the companions and the Fighters Guild in Oblivion.
The reason why I think Bethesda has maximized guilds, and I'm mostly comparing these games to each other, most recently I've played Diablo 4, and I felt like the side quests were kind of missing the meatiness of this, even of a Skyrim or a Fallout 3 or anything like that. But I think, whenever I talk to players about their time with the Bethesda game, they're always talking about the faction quests. And I'm really excited for you to eventually play Starfield, because I think we'll have a lot of interesting discussions about those faction quest lines. But going back to Oblivion, I think it's, to me so far, it's the pivotal one, at least for the playstyle that I have, because I have so much fun seeing how long these quest lines go.
Right,
like,
dude,
you start off. Yeah, so the 5 major guilds are Arena, Dark Brotherhood, Fighters Guild, Mages Guild, Thieves Guild. Now, I've seen the Fighters Guilds around. I haven't walked into one. I just walked into the Arena. So I imagine we're experiencing totally different things, but maybe they're similar. But in the Arena, you're essentially just like gladiator mode, going after next person. It's super fun. I've learned a lot about the combat. I will say, for your leveling issue, one hack I've found is you go to the stores and you buy scrolls that allow you to summon creatures. And so what I'll do in the Arena is they'll be like, this fighter is a wasp with light armor and heavy, and they're gonna be, and you see them coming at you super fast, and you're like, summon zombie, summon scamp, summon this, and you just have your army beat up on them after, like, they get ganged up by 3 different creatures, and then you shoot your arrow and you walk out, and they're like, I can't believe it, he did it! So that's one hack for sure with the leveling. And the other thing I thought about when you were talking is that, you said Skyrim feels a little bit like, oh, you're the Dragonborn. And it kind of reminds me of like a participation trophy where they're like, hey, Matt, boy, are you strong. You are so impressive. Like, you're level 3, but you're our leader. And Oblivion is like, back in my day, I had to walk up a mountain to do this. It's like, there is no coddling in Oblivion, right? Like, I think about the mages. Yeah, the Mages Guild, I had to fight a snow Atronach or something. And I had to really think about how I was going to take down this creature. And, you really spend a lot more time preparing for these quests. And then the other thing that I think highlights, how deep these things are is in the Mages Guild, I get them confused. I want to say you start off as an associate, but like walking around the guild and everyone's telling you, hello, associate. And you're like, oh shoot, there's ranks. And then you get up and it's like, hello, apprentice. And you're like, whoa, like how far am I going to go up this thing? Same thing with Arena, where you're earning your ranks and you feel like kind of proud that you're no longer, a peon to these people.
Right. Do you feel proud in Oblivion? Versus Skyrim, where you're just like, all right, yeah, give me, what's the next thing I got to do? All right, of course I'm the best,
Right. So yeah, for me, I've started the Thieves Guild is hard. There was, I had to save scum a couple times for the very first quest line because they have you do something, and I kind of figured out, oh, I think this is how I want to solve this problem. But what I really like too is that with the major guilds, there's these intricacies in the quest design. With the Arena, if you take off your outfit that they give you, your team outfit, you right away you get penalized. Wow. And so there's these systems that I really appreciate. With the Mages Guild, you're learning about the magic, you're experiencing these really cool stories as you're basically trying to get people's vote. It reminds me of Donnie Brasco, which is like a mafia film where, they explain you're a made man now. Like that's what it feels like joining the Mages Guild. It's like, hey, you need to go. You're not with us totally yet. You need to convince this person at this Mages Guild, and it's kind of a tour of all the different cities. So a lot of what you said really resonated. Before we keep discussing, I do want to... Oh, go ahead.
I do want to say one more thing that I also love that stood out to me from the Fighters Guild, and I'm sure the other guilds maybe utilize this too, but I thought it was so cool how Bethesda really made the guilds come alive for me in a way that Skyrim didn't. And it was when they gave me a quest the Fighters Guild gave me a quest to go to the Mages Guild. Like the Mages Guild hired the Fighters Guild.
Oh, that's
And I was
dope.
like, dude, that's so sick to have the guilds interact with each other. It just breathed new life into the world where I felt like the world building is better in Skyrim. This is where the world building really succeeds in Oblivion.
Right. And we'll kind of go back into that when we get to, because I think what you're experiencing in a way is hand designed quest lines, but there's also the Radiant AI integration, which is the system they use to control the animals, the NPCs, the day-night cycle, and that was a big feature of the game itself. So we'll come back to that. But
Okay.
I want to list the 10 minor guilds because this is super impressive. Blackwood Company, the Blades, Court of Madness, Knights of the Nine, Knights of the Thorn, Knights of the White Stallion, I believe that's DLC, Mythic Dawn, Nine Divines, Order of the Dragon, Order of Virtuous Blood. Like there's so much packed in there,
What?
right? Yeah,
No
so
idea.
I'm like 40 to 50 hours in, and I've maybe made a dent in Mages Guild, made a dent in Arena. I got filtered on the Blades quest, where I've mentioned this before, but I got jumped by a bunch of dudes, and now I'm going to come with the scrolls. I'm like, I have my solution.
Dude,
I'm gonna be
that's such a
summoning-
hack. That's like
Yes,
Elden
'cause-
Ring going like, I'm going to bring my Ashes of War or like my Mimic Tier like to help me out.
Yes, that, and then okay, there's a no. There's a random side quest that I picked up to, and I ended up in a short story. There's a really popular short story that I feel like they're kind of playing off of, and you basically collect a lot of good loot. Like it's the first time I got mithril loot. I have elven loot now, and so there's this one sword I got from that quest that has like ability to shock, and that thing is plowing through enemies in the arena, where it's like a couple hits with that thing and people are going down. So, you know, I've been concerned about the leveling issue, and the thing that I feel comforted in is that the gear does seem to make up for the fact that your enemies are leveling up to your scale all the time. So if you have really dope loot, you will be better. You'll be better taken care of. So yeah, let's go ahead and talk about the diegetic storytelling, which is the way I see that is like, how does the game tell you about the guilds? And for me, I've been trying to read more books because whenever I play an Elder Scrolls game, I like fantasize about reading these books. I'm like, oh, I'm going to read that one day. That sounds interesting. And I never do. So I'm using this series to actually read as many as I can. Mm-hmm. And it's always cool seeing, you know, on the Thieves Guild or like about, you know, the Fighters Guild, and just reading about the lore, connecting some of those dots, because like you said, Skyrim's world does feel a little bit more lived in. It's a better experience maybe as far as just like walking through it. But what I think is cool about Oblivion is they make up for that with the like rich lore that you have access to.
Right.
But yeah, go ahead and just talk about, you know, what do you think are the strengths of Skyrim's factions and guilds compared to Oblivion? Because you mentioned that you're kind of playing alongside in Skyrim a little bit more on your Switch now. Do you feel like Skyrim does any of these things better so far with the factions that makes you go, oh, I wish Oblivion had that with factions that Skyrim does?
I think at moments there's times where I'm playing Skyrim, like the companions, and I'm like, wow, this is a really cool moment. I feel like these characters actually are from Whiterun, and they're living here. They're self-aware in a way. Like they make comments about the town, the city. And they're telling me more about the lore. There's options for me to dive deeper. And not saying like there isn't that also in Oblivion, but maybe it's the more updated scripts that they have. And they're with each game they're learning more about this world. They're literally can piggyback on top of Oblivion, so no wonder why it just feels more lived in, a better sense. And I like some of those story beats in the companions. I like some of that pacing, but what's unfortunate is eventually it just escalates exponentially, like an exponential slope, where I was just becoming a werewolf and now I'm the leader of the companions because the leader just died, you know, like where, and they just picked me and they only met me like 5 days ago. Like it just doesn't fit versus the storytelling mixed in with the amount of time it takes to do the quests in Oblivion. It just feels more real and relatable and believable.
Totally. I think the amount of time is super impressive where you're just like, I can't believe there's more really detailed dungeons. And this is one of the reasons why I don't think Oblivion benefits from just going off the beaten path and discovering stuff. I think you always want to be led somewhere with a quest. I think the game is so much more fun that way because then you don't get tired of the repetitive dungeon design. So, so I'll chalk kind of your praise of Skyrim up to the Radiant AI integration. We'll kind of talk about that now because like it sounds like going back to Skyrim, you're just noticing more maybe like nuance and detail in the NPCs, whereas with the it is funny to watch the NPCs in Oblivion talk to each other, and especially when you get multiple conversations all at once. Will be like, did you hear about the Thieves Guild? And someone's like, wow, in Cyrodiil, I really noticed that, or one clip that was amazing is Mo and I walked up to like these pirates or people by a boat, and they all started singing sea songs, but different ones. They're like, the ocean runs a mile and wide, and like someone else is like, I think that no, and like all at the same time, just staring at you. So those kinds of things are probably much better in Skyrim, and I'm sure as I go back, I'll have similar notes to you.
Yes.
But yeah, like I think what's maybe if we're gonna figure this out, then maybe it sounds like, because the AI integration isn't as strong as Skyrim, it forced them to kind of hand custom write more things, as opposed to something like the Thieves Guild in in Skyrim, where it's like, wait, how many more missions are there? This just keeps going, and you like realize, oh, this is a Radiant quest. With the Mages Guild so far, I haven't noticed that. I haven't been like, oh wow, this is just triggering random events and making me think that it's a bespoke quest.
And maybe you could help me answer this though, because when I was playing Skyrim, I quickly remembered that not all guilds are created equal. And with Oblivion, I'm wondering if it's like, is each one as entertaining as the next? Because the Fighters Guild is long and it feels great. But then I also hear really good things about, the Dark Brotherhood and the Thieves Guild and the Mages Guild. So I'm wondering if maybe there was more attention given to each of the guilds in Oblivion versus Skyrim, because maybe they were just thinking, I just want the first time player to feel like they can tackle everything and not be overwhelmed.
Yeah, I mean, I would guess maybe Skyrim was made before Fallout 4, and I believe it was made after Fallout 3, while Obsidian was making Fallout New Vegas. So I think the timeline was really condensed. So I'd imagine there was probably a world where they would have liked to have done faction quests and guilds as deep as we're experiencing them now in Oblivion, but I think it was probably a time factor more than anything. Like I just don't think they had that much time, because that timeline is really, really short with all those games coming out. That's my theory. But I just wrote down that guild quest lines are detailed, memorable, and exciting, which is kind of what we're talking about organically right now. So I said, like, the guilds create this value to the game world experience, and they're introducing new mechanics. You're learning the spells, you're learning the weapons, you're solving problems in between quests, which I love. It's like, bro, I need these scrolls, or I need to figure out how I'm gonna boost my magicka because I need my magicka right now to be like totally leveled off because I might get jumped by someone. Stuff like that. Meeting the enemy variety. I really love how I'm seeing things that I've never seen before because of a faction quest line. And yeah, they draw the player off the beaten path, but there's purpose to it. And that's what I really appreciate as well. So in general, when we're talking about a Bethesda game, what are the factions that you usually go to first?
So originally, when I was first playing Skyrim, naturally, I went to the companions, but that was not my favorite. I quickly became, like just everyone else, really huge fan of the Thieves Guild, getting that gear, Nightingale armor, if you know, you know. And, archery, sneak archer. It kind of just forced me into that in a way. I didn't realize it was forcing me, but it was always Thieves Guild and then like Dark Brotherhood for me. Eventually I got around to the Mages Guild, but I just find in these games, it's so entertaining to see what kind of loot I can get, right? Sneak around, uncover the conspiracy. That is awesome. And then in Dark Brotherhood, like using the sandboxy ragdoll mechanics, physics to just have fun taking out like an assassin these people. And just seeing how that AI, that good AI that we all love in Skyrim, works with it. So in Oblivion, I wanted to go in originally for sure Dark Brotherhood, especially because my buddy who was playing that when I was in high school was saying, if you ever play this game, do the Dark Brotherhood. It is the most fun. It could be funny. It could be serious. It's great. And so I tried getting into that. Honestly, dude, I tried to get into the Dark Brotherhood, but I was trying to use my initiation to get to the Dark Brotherhood with Glarther's quest lines, where you have to kill. You have the option to kill the people who think that he is bad or everyone's out to get him in that town.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't see that perspective of that quest.
I wanted to use those murders to get the Dark Brotherhood triggered.
Okay.
And so again, what I struggle with these old games sometimes is speed. Like running. So I would start trying to kill these people without any guards around because I'm a fighter. I can't really sneak, you know? And they would fight me. They would take their fists out, boom, 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 boom. And I'm like, you stupid, I got a sword. And I'm wow, 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 wow. And then I get them down to like a third health, dude. And then they start booking at it. Dude, I'm wearing armor. I'm wearing armor, bro. I can't run as fast. They're like in a dress. They're running away super fast. And they go tattle me every time, bro. And then I'm stuck reloading. And I'm like, gosh, I just want to kill you. It's not as hard in Skyrim to kill an NPC with the sword. So
Right.
But that ultimately
and then the other thing
made me realize that, I built my character to be a fighter for the Fighters Guild. And I'm having a better time doing that, which is interesting. Cool. And it made me think replay value. I could go back, build my character better for an assassin build. And I could be thinking about those kind of weapons and be sneaking. Maybe I can take out that bow and get more of a critical hit, right? And so I wasn't playing that way. So I thought this was really kind of eye-opening in terms of the mechanics of Skyrim and discovering it through the factions, which is really neat.
Yeah, that's a great insight. I totally agree with you. I had the same issue where I really wanted to summon a scamp, I think is what it's called, because, I realized when I had a scroll that it was super powerful. And so I realized, I'm not using any conjure skills. So what I did is I got bound dagger, bound helmet, and bound boots, and I basically put them all on my hotkey. They were like cheap spells that I could actually use, and I would just, when I would walk around, I'd like bound the knife, bound the thing, so that way I could level up that skill to get it high enough to be able to use summon scamp. And so that's kind of what's cool about this stuff is like I knew through the Mages Guild, okay, I'm gonna need to be more powerful. Even through the blade stuff, I'm gonna need to be more powerful. And so zoning in on those specific skill sets to be like, I need to get my conjuration up. And how am I going to solve this problem? For you, I would recommend maybe trying like getting a paralyzation spell if one exists. I don't know, but paralyze them somehow so they can't run away from you. And I think you could also is it burden? Like, I think you can burden them. So maybe you like paralyze them through burdening them, which either, I don't know if it adds weight to them or if it takes down their fatigue.
That sounds like that. Slow them down.
Yeah, so I would try that. That would be actually a really cool thought experiment to see.
So frustrating. I can't tell you how many times I reloaded. I even tried to sneak into their house, even though I'm not a thief.
Oh my God.
But for some reason, no guards around. Hear me. I must be so freaking loud in that world. No guards around. I break in, easy peasy, and a guard comes right through the door and like, hey, I heard you.
yeah, that's okay. That's what I was gonna ask. I was like, I'm gonna have to look that up because I don't understand how that system works when the guards become alerted. So I'll report back. I'll find out more because that happens to me. You accidentally steal something and then all of a sudden a guard appears and you're like, what did I do? How are you always watching me? They're like omniscient guards in Oblivion.
Right.
So yeah, do you when you play a game like any RPG really, but especially the Bethesda ones, do you play them with the anticipation that you could complete all the factions in one playthrough? Or do you anticipate that, no, I've chosen the Fighters Guild and something about them, when I become the leader of that's going to negate my ability to do this guild? Or how do you usually expect that to play out? Do you think there should be consequences, or do you think it should be like, no, let me play all of them in one playthrough?
So what I would used to say is, because I started with Skyrim, where you're the Dragonborn and you can do everything, you can do it all. I would expect that I could try out every faction in one playthrough. But after playing Oblivion, I don't know if that's a good thing and I want that. Because I am a role player. I like to create characters that have limitations, right? And they can't do everything. Like, that's what makes them good and fun, and I get a lot of replay value out of it. And so I would actually want something more like Oblivion, where I can specifically roleplay as a thief or a fighter, and the game's going to reward me for that versus someone who's spread too thin.
I love that. No, I agree. I think the weightiness to it is cool, where you're kind of anticipating which one matters to you most. So for those who are watching us going, well, what about non-Bethesda guilds? Like, do any games come to mind that deserve an honorable mention that you've played where you're like, oh wow, they do guilds and factions to a level that I think Bethesda does?
Dude, that's a hard question. I mean, right when you say guild, I immediately think of MMO, like Final Fantasy 14, building your character that way. And for me, that is the best MMO RPG experience. Guilds, it's super fun. How they do it is great. In terms of like a single player experience, I think Bethesda is better, but for MMO, that's really good. In terms of other games with guilds, I don't know why no single player games are standing out to me, because I think Bethesda knows that that's like kind of a differentiator in their games, is that we focus on like these big guilds with different quest lines. I guess I could say something maybe like Cyberpunk, maybe, where like you got your corpos, you got your street kids, and then you got your wastelanders, right? And so kind of doing those quest lines separately.
What about The Witcher 3? Does that have guilds and like factions? Does it? There's like, it's more like side quests are organized in a different way, right?
Well, they do have different gear, like School of the Cat, right? School of the Bear, School of the Wolf, and they have their own side quests and storylines with that. They do have their different, I guess, regions that definitely have their own quest lines and feeling towards them. So it's not as specific and stands out to you as something more like Bethesda, and then even sort of like Cyberpunk.
The other one that I'll throw an honorable mention out for is the Outer Worlds, and I believe Mass Effect has guilds or a feeling of them, because you're kind of figuring out who you want to ally with,
right.
So in a way, but not quite in the way that Bethesda does it. And that's why I thought it would be a cool framing for the discussions, like how Bethesda maximizes these skills. So, to summarize for you guys, it's kind of a commitment to their lore, you know, how it connects game to game, which is really cool. So I do encourage, if you do like your faction, read about some of those books and see how they connect to Skyrim, you know, the blades in Skyrim and the blades in Oblivion and all that. So I think that's a cool component. I think the Radiant AI allows them to do a lot of this cool stuff that we're talking about. Hopefully they don't overdo it in the future to where everything feels rinse and repeat and it doesn't have that unique, bespoke, handcrafted quest design that Oblivion has. And yeah, just the details, everything that makes it feel richer, finding specific loot, not just like legendary and, you know, whatever high quality loot, but actually loot with names on it that feels special, that you're like, man, I'm so glad I did that quest. Now I finally have this sword.
They have a book about it.
Right. Totally. So that is our discussion for today. If you guys like this content, check out my boy Jumby Jumbwa on his channel, right? You're on Instagram, you're on YouTube. It's JUMBYJUMBWA.
Yes. So come follow me there. I like Game Boys. I like retro games. I got a huge backlog. And yeah, I want to make some new videos. So come on over and let's have some fun.
Yeah, and then you're already on the Yeti Den, so subscribe to the Yeti Den, and yeah, we will see you guys next time. Thank you for tuning in to Guilds and Factions of Bethesda, more specifically of Oblivion, because that's what we're playing right now, and we will see you guys all later. Bye.